Okay, there we are. Well, today's the day. Remote school begins today. You're on the fence and you're thinking about it. Give it to yourself. Give yourself the transformation chance that you want. You get to go from not knowing how to deal poker, not working in casinos as a poker dealer, and doing whatever it is that you do in your life to the change that you've wanted. I know, like, I was talking to somebody recently and I set up a meeting with them for Wednesday. And I've been talking to this person for about a year now. I've never worked with them directly one-on-one in this type of extent. And Wednesday, we have a call where they're partially trained, which is a unique category, of course. And they really want to give this to themselves. I think they're, it's either FedEx or UPS, a driver. And like, they spend a lot of time in the poker room and they just really want it. And on their journey to learning how to deal poker, they ran into a couple of roadblocks, which happens. And I just say, like, if you're somebody that's been just thinking about wanting to do this, and you think to yourself, man, I would feel so much better in my life. I would have more money. I would have a job that feels more in line with my personality. Like, just give it to yourself. Today's the day. We start today. Today at, what is it, 2 o'clock Eastern is the first class of the 6 weeks worth of classes for remote school for the very first time. Give it to yourself. You get to be a part of this from day one. And today's the day. I'm really excited for the class. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Um, you know, I almost feel a little embarrassed that I didn't realize to do this sooner. It's so not intuitive, right? Like poker dealer school is a thing that you always think about is just going to be in person with a bunch of other people learning around a single poker table or two, maybe practicing. And there's a few things about it that I've always loved and a few things about it that I've always hated. I've always hated the fact that when there's a traditional poker dealer school and everybody shows up in person, one person's in the box and everybody else is around the table playing to give them the experience that I've actually proven now you don't need that structure because all those other people, you could say that they're learning while someone's in here training, but they're not learning nearly as much as if they're doing, right? The inefficiency of a traditional poker dealer school is something that I'm really excited to fix with remote dealer school. But yeah, I mean, if you've been thinking about giving this to yourself and you've been thinking about like, do I want to start this journey and train? I know nowadays we've all got dopamine from 4 million different locations, right? Like we scroll, we go to YouTube, we go to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. There's all these different versions of our dopamine hits. And so the idea of concentrating for 6 weeks in a row, learning something for yourself that might change your life, will change your life if you actually give it to yourself. I mean, the idea of that, it might feel like, oh, God, do I really want to do this? Maybe I can just do it next time. Like, I can always just teach myself how to learn how to deal poker. But will you? If you're not doing it this time, are you going to do it next time? Like, maybe instead of telling yourself, I'll do it when it feels a little better, I'll do it when it's a little bit less stressful, you just tell yourself, you know what, I'm just going to do it right now. I'm going to give this to myself right now, and I'll figure it out along the way as I go, and Mark's going to help me. Not just anybody. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you make it so that you get through this whole instructional course with me and you learn the things that you need to learn. You're not in it alone. You are responsible for your own learning, and your results will depend on you caring about that, but you're not in it alone. And I work with people individually along the way to make sure that they have the experience that they want. That's the role. I'm here as both a mentor, instructor, and also as somebody who like gets in there and sort of sees what it's like to be you along this journey. And I also have a ton of insight for how to handle it once you get through it. So if you're thinking about giving it to yourself, I just say give it to yourself. Just go join remote school. First class is at 2 o'clock. If you take a look at the schedule on there and you can't make every single one, I've got solutions for that. I do want you to be there as much as possible. I'd love for you to be there every single time, assuming that you're in the school. But we can always make it work. One of the first conversations we have in the first day of class is we make sure that your setup is correct, right? We want to, this isn't a good setup. I'm doing this because I'm talking to you and I want you to feel me more. But if your setup's not correct and your camera's not good and you don't have the right chips or something like that, we take care of that right away the first day. We're also going to check the schedule. We're going to go over the whole schedule. Just make sure that I understand who is who believes, life happens, but who believes that they're available for the whole schedule. There's some flexibility in there. Just because I have it listed on the calendar doesn't mean that we can't make some adjustments here and there if everybody's a yes to it. So um, this is a really important day for anybody to join. That's in the class. I mean, show up to the Zoom, but there's I'm excited. I'm excited to do this. Um, I'm also curious, right? Like the people that signed up, we've sort of got them going, but I don't know exactly where everybody's at in their learning. Sometimes people surprise me when they start. They've already learned a whole bunch of stuff related to dealing poker. Poker players, not just poker players, people that play casually, but I'm talking about real people that have taken the game seriously and tried to make money at it in the long run. They often are a humorous version of ahead and behind, right? Like they're ahead because they're familiar with a lot of the rules and procedures of poker dealing, and that's really good, and ultimately that makes them ahead no matter what other things come with that. And then also they're behind a little bit because sometimes they've developed habits trying to learn how to do stuff themselves that I have to actually go back and unteach. In addition to teaching, there is some unteaching involved in this too, which that's actually fun for me. um, there's almost always a moment with everybody when they're like, oh, I didn't realize there was this much to it, and I've been sitting at the table for years. And I'm like, yep, there is. And we're going to make it all so that you're able to pass your audition. And I'm going to give you the tools that you need in order to get to that place where you can show up at that table and it's all just in your instincts. Your instincts are there. They're the things that are driving you. And there's just so much to it. And um, I'm also really excited for this session because this one's going to be special. It'll be the first one, the first remote school, obviously not the first people I've taught, but the first true poker dealer remote dealer school, the first classroom on Zoom, the first group of people that will, learn. And I mean, I'm aware because I've done this for so long. I've helped teach people how to do this. I'm aware that down the line, a year from now, these people will be in poker rooms, working, making money, having a different life experience. I also do talk I'm trying to help you pass the audition, so it's not the huge focus, but I do talk about like when you start making more money, how to not let it get out of hand with your spending. Because people that end up becoming poker dealers, a lot of the time they go from making like $15 an hour up to like $30 to $50 an hour. And the real strong tendency that people have is to upgrade their life. And if you've got a family and everything, I understand. But if you're an individual who is just sort of like, oh, I wish I had a bigger home, or I could start paying more for rent and all that stuff. I do help people understand a little bit of the traps of jumping up in your income, because for a lot of people, getting their first poker dealer job is the first time that they've ever really experienced a significant jump in income. So I'm so looking forward to this. The mentorship that I get to provide for people is really satisfying for me, and I'm getting looking forward to genuinely like getting to know the humans that are going to be in this. So today's the last day to sign up. 2 o'clock is when we start the first one. And yeah, I'm here for it. Today's just a short live stream. Like, I will take questions if anyone has any questions. I'm super happy to participate in that. But what is this button? I've always wondered this. 10 super chat colors, timer 30 minutes. I have no idea. There's this whole like super chat goal thing. Interesting. I never even noticed any of this. Huh, cool. Well, anyway, so yeah, if you're in the chat, say hi. If you're thinking about joining remote school, let me know. Tell me what's up. Say hi. There have been some people that have been telling me like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do it this time. I'll catch you the next time. It's like, that's your choice. I look forward to working with you guys whenever it is you get around to it. I will say, you know, the sooner you get in, the sooner you start changing your life and making money. And um, I just, when I think back on it, I'm 44 now. I feel pretty good about what I've done in my life, but I have definitely wasted some time in my life over the years. Like I remember in 2004, I actually figured out how to advertise for online poker. I don't know how much I've talked about this here, but in 2004, I learned how to market for the online poker sites that used to share a percent of the rake that people would make there. And I figured out how to do it, and it was relatively like hands off. I didn't have to spend a whole lot of time every day once I figured out how to do all that work and get people to start playing online poker. And I was up to making about $1,200 to $1,500 a week off of doing that marketing. And I played like World of Warcraft for almost an entire year, the entire year of 2000 and like half of 2005 into half of 2006. And man, when I look back on that now, I'm just like, I could have spent like 6 weeks learning how to deal poker. I could have gotten a job dealing poker that whole time. And I could have saved up where 100% of my money, because I had money coming in already, 100% of my money went toward my future. And like I would have crushed it if I did that. And it's just, sometimes we're comfortable and we don't just go for it and improve our situation. And, that's our choice. But uh, yeah, I think it's time for you. If you're thinking about it, like I want you to have this opportunity. I want you to be in this course, and I'm excited to see you guys. Um, so yeah, we start at 2 o'clock today. Um, very, very nice. And for those of you that were sort of waiting for me to start the live stream today, if I'm being honest, because today is the first day of remote school, I took my time. Just like I was like, you know what? It's not true for me right now to start a live stream at 10 a.m. Eastern. I had it listed for 10 a.m. I won't be doing this with the classes, obviously, but for the live stream where it's just me and the consequences just around me, I was like, you know what? I feel like I want to come on here a little bit later. I want to be a little bit relaxed. Um, I'm I've been spending some of my morning like just almost like gathering myself for starting this journey, like remembering what it's like to not know how to deal poker. I go through this every time I teach, like putting myself in the shoes of somebody that has a lot of work ahead of them in order to get through that 6 weeks and get on the other side and be able to do this thing. Like everybody that's going to be in remote school today, and there's still time to get in. Everybody that's about to start today, right now, their hands don't know all the skills that they're going to know 6 weeks from now. Their their body doesn't know how to interact with the table all the way. The rules are a little bit confusing or possibly very confusing. Maybe they don't even know what beats what in poker, and maybe that's where we're starting. I mean, there's a lot that a lot of transformation that's going to happen in these next 6 weeks, and I'm just really excited about it. And um and it doesn't end there. Actually, I received this message this morning, and this is sort of my life. Getting people sending me these messages. This is a cool message. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. Um, Let me see. Oh, it's too long of a message for me to include all in one go. How do I make this bigger? Facebook used to be easier to just pull this out. Well, that's okay. Let me do this. I really want to show this message because I actually think it's a very valuable thing. How do I properly do this? So what I'm trying to, oh, there we go. I'm trying to open it in Messenger. Here we go. So this is the message that I received earlier today. I'm just putting it into an image, saving it over here. Just bear with me. This is worth it. let's see. And now I gotta add the image. It's like we got all this technology and it unfortunately just takes some time. Calling it message. Here we go. So I got this message earlier today. It was like 6:50 something in the morning, which was pretty cool. And it's like I get these types of messages very frequently, and I think it's a really interesting reminder of what it's like. It says, "Hey Mark, I've been dealing in a casino for about 3 years now. First off, I want to say thank you because your content is what got me where I am now. I've learned a lot from your channel. I was curious if you have any advanced content for dealing, preferably content on Omaha, especially Big O. I've gotten pretty good at dealing the game, but I know just like everything else, there is always room for improvement." So the reason that I find this so interesting and powerful is because first of all, this is a person who has been working on in this job in a poker room for 3 years now. And they've got the job, they like the career, and they're choosing on their own to improve their skills. And they're looking for the right resource for their situation where they're looking for Big O, which if you don't know what Big O is, it's 5 card Omaha. So you get 5 cards, and it's still two from your hand and three from the board. And it's pot limit. And in addition to being 5 card and pot limit, it's also eight or better. So if there's a qualifying eight or better, then half the pot would go to the low hand. And that's something that if you don't know what that is, that's the type of thing that you would learn in my class. And I do go over this in the remote school, and I do have this in the self-paced course. I have a big O lesson. And I'm assuming for them to be working in the industry for 3 years and having learned from me, I'm assuming that they already learned this game, and maybe their poker room has it sometimes, maybe even they have it more frequently than they used to, and they're currently trying to learn this um, in order to get better at it so that their experience when they're dealing it is a little bit smoother. It can be hard to learn on the game, and it can be really hard to learn on the game when they're playing for high stakes and they have the expectation that you know what you're doing before you sit down, which isn't always realistic. And I can certainly talk about that. And we do talk about that in school sometimes, and I talk about how to handle that. But the fact of the matter is, like, learning how to pass an audition with this game and then being there in the actual game aren't necessarily the same thing, right? And so he's basically saying like, hey, can you help me get better at this? 3 years as a dealer, still can improve in some areas. And I mean, there's a lot to this, is what I'm saying. And I just think this is really interesting. I also appreciate, like, he's saying thank you because the content is what got him where he is now. And I get these types of messages all the time, and I really appreciate them. Jacob says, hope it goes well for you today. Hey, appreciate it, man. Definitely looking forward to remote school later today, and for the next 6 weeks and even longer. I have it set up where it's a 6 week class, but I don't just start the next one immediately. I leave 2 weeks where I'm totally available as a part of it if someone needs it, for feedback session, audition type things where we just like hammer away at them, and then you go back and correct yourself so that you get yourself there. Like, I leave those 2 weeks in there. Not everybody's available to put in the time that they need every single day, and so I really try to create a structure that works for everyone. But yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, so this type of comment is something I get pretty regularly, and I responded to them, and I basically told them, actually, I'll read it. Hey, really appreciate that and respect for wanting to sharpen up after 3 years in a room, which is totally true. I asked if they've gone through the PLO and big O modules inside my self-paced course, because it's just good for me to know, like, oh, what are you actually asking, right? And I want to see where they're at. And then I said also, when you say advanced, like, what specifically are you looking for to improve in Big O? Speed, hand reading, like quartering, because quartering comes up a lot in that game. Um, Player relating, it's a particular crowd. And I feel really fortunate that I've gotten not only to learn how to do these, but I've also gotten legitimate time at the table where my skill level went from like middle where I understood it technically to experiential where I understood it from the player standpoint as well. It's a whole lot easier to deal a game like Big O if you get to the point where you can really relate to the player's experience. Like almost having enough space, like having enough stuff trained into your habits where you can uh, learn like what the players are thinking and stuff and enjoy the conversations between hands about stuff and all that. So yeah, so it's also a good reminder, and part of the reason I showed this and put that back is there's nobody out there teaching people how to ask these questions in a way that makes it a lot easier for them to get what they want more quickly, right? So, but this is just a great and typical overall message, and we're always out here learning. And yeah, I appreciated that question. Let me put that aside because we don't need it there anymore. And yeah, the journey continues for people. There's more to learn, and every poker room handles it a little bit differently too. Like some poker rooms will require everybody to go to every table, other poker rooms will only send people there that are the ones that they want. Like the Big O crowd can be a 5100 pot limit crowd with very like with two or three people at the table that are well above their means, gambling money that they can't afford to lose, and they're very tense about every single thing that happens. Or it could be a crowd where like you've got let's say 1-2 with a $5 call bring in, and the pots can still get big for a few thousand, but everybody at that table might be chill because they're just doing it for fun and they're not like gonna live or die on the results of it or anything like that. Maybe it's just super hard to tell exactly where it comes from. I think it's really funny. I have it, if you're in the chat and you know the answer to this, I don't know why in Texas or in Dallas at least they call it Congress. They call Big O Congress there. I've actually never heard an answer to why it's called Congress. Um, I mean, I would assume that maybe they call it that because the politicians are the ones that played it first and it just became a thing that politicians played it, but that's totally a guess. Like, actually, I'm gonna look up why Big O is sometimes called Congress. Why is there's no way that Google knows this, and also the 2%. I'm just curious. Why is Big O sometimes called Congress? Is there a chance that any answer is going to be out there? Let's see. This is, let's see. So this says work. There's just somebody on Facebook that said worked for the Big O, Oscar Snowden, in 1968 on Congress. If you didn't buy it from the Big O, I know you paid too much, was his slogan. Is it possible that Big O, um, which happened to end up being the name of this particular game, five card pot limit, high low, is it possible that coincidentally there was someone named Oscar Snowden? And this says Austin Memories, so I'm assuming that's Austin, Texas. Is it possible that there was someone named Oscar Snowden that was coincidentally named Big O that maybe even played poker? And then the poker community started calling it Congress to honor him because it says I worked for Big O in 1968 on Congress. Maybe that's a road in Austin. And then he was so well known. If you didn't buy it from the Big O, I know you paid too much. And his slogan was famous. That's possible. It is actually possible that that's where that came from. That is very interesting. I don't know. That's what came up when I looked. What a random thing. Let me see if there's any other information about that. Um, that would be fascinating. I mean, there's a lot of coincidences in there if that's not what it came from, you know? I do know that Austin, Texas, well, let me see. I can say this. I don't know for sure that this is the first poker room in Texas, but I know 2015, Texas Card House opened its first poker room in Austin. And so it stands to reason that if it's called Congress across the properties in Texas that are Texas Card House properties, that it would have started in Austin, and it might be a local reference the whole time, just to Austin, that made its way to Dallas and into my ears. That would be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Let me look down here now. United States, what's the reason behind calling it Congress? No, it's not related to poker. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Here's a reference. If you're in San Antonio, they call it Congress, yeah. But maybe it's a reference to this Oscar fella. I don't know. Well, anyway, um, so yeah, I've never actually thought to look that up all these years, partly because like when I think of this stuff, and poker dealers out there can relate to this. Poker dealers, if you're a poker dealer and you're in the chat right now, I'm actually curious, how many times a week when you're dealing poker and you don't have access to a phone, you don't have access to a notepad, you don't have access to anything because you're dealing poker and you're not allowed to interact with those things. How many times a week would you say you think of something interesting and you want to put it, like jot it down, send a text to somebody, something, and you just totally forget about it by the time you're available on your break to actually do so? For me, it happens at least once a week. Let's see. Cajun guy says, not gonna lie, I'm a little worried about the state of Texas gaming, not to get political, but some more anti-gambling attitudes on both sides seem to scare me. Any thoughts? Well, what do I say there? I've been dealing poker there for since 2021 now. So what is that? About almost 5 years. 5 years in March. And nowadays I come and go. So the last 3 years I haven't been there regularly. I was there regularly before that. I lived in Dallas, 2021, 2022, and then I moved to North Carolina, and I've been going back and forth periodically, um, every other month for a couple of weeks. So I'm still averaging like 20 hours a week over the course of a year, the amount that I work when I go there. That being said, I've never really felt that deeply connected to like really what's going on in the whole state of Texas. Texas is a big state. It has a ton of existing culture. There's a ton of assumption about all kinds of things when it comes to like why there's gambling, why there's not gambling. From what I can tell, um, religious folks that have influence are the ones that have sort of been bred to and programmed essentially to dislike anything gambling. It doesn't feel like it's about like when you hear in a state that they don't want gambling because, and this is speculative, but when you hear in a state that they don't want gambling because it's bad, you would hope that the place that that's coming from is actual logic, rationale about it's bad because it does this to people, it does that to people. Um, I I I think the tendency that I seem to feel here though is that it's more about it's a religious value for people, and there's a lot of very deeply religious people in Texas that they just have this value deep in their instincts, and it's more about them continuing to feel comfortable in their state than it is about actually not wanting bad things to happen. It's almost like, I mean, this is a shortcut for how people learn in general, right? Like, we're not out here evaluating things all over the place. We're terrible at that. Humans are so bad at evaluating things. Like, I mean, I was talking about science stuff the other day and how there's contradiction in concepts in science. Like, it's everywhere. We find contradiction, but we don't evaluate beyond that. So, like, I think that it's more about we learn with our feelings. If something feels true to us, and it's not evaluated, if it feels true to us, then we bring that feeling in and we internalize it and we like create a permanence to it where it's in our instincts, and then anything that contradicts that makes us uncomfortable, and sometimes we take it so far as to fight against it. We want to protect our family, we want to protect our values, and so I think there's just a lot of um there's a little bit of a contradiction culture in Texas to begin with. Like Texas is gunslinging, like gambling culture, and then there's also religious culture, and sometimes they overlap, right? Dinner tables like that must be really interesting. But I imagine that the gambling culture always goes passive in the face of the religious culture from a place of like love and not wanting to create confrontation. So I think it's sort of that is my guess where religious culture that has anti-gambling as a part of it doesn't want to be uncomfortable and so they fight against it. And you know, it's like there's a lot of money on the side of religion, and then there's also a lot of money on the side of gambling. Like these casinos and entities that have gambling, they spend a ton of money, and so I think there is a legitimate battle. And poker is an interesting first step into the state because poker, at its core, is a game of skill that can easily be sort of misunderstood as gambling both by the population and politics and also by the players. Players treat it like a table game sometimes. And when they treat it like a table game, it actually is gambling to them. And then there's other people at the table that are treating it like a skill game and it's not gambling to them. Um, and so a lot of people don't properly assess and acknowledge this, but there is both gambling and skill game happening at the same time at the poker table. But here I am being someone that evaluates things. Nobody's evaluating this in these conversations. It's a lot of it's about money and a lot of it's about keeping people comfortable, with their existing belief systems. That's my take on it. Um, let's see. Why couldn't you write in your notepad in the box? I understand it isn't orthodox, but if the machine is well oiled and continues to run, who cares if you jot something down in your notepad? Um, let's see. What's the answer to the question? So the first answer is like technically I probably could. Like it's a type of thing where if I had a dealer come up to me when I was a supervisor and ask me, "Hey, am I allowed to have a little notepad and keep it in the in the tray? Am I allowed to like jot things down on it periodically?" As a supervisor, let's say that I was a new supervisor. As a new supervisor, I would always say no. I'm not going to be the one to say yes to that because I'm not experienced enough as a new supervisor to understand all the potential impact of saying yes to this. As an experienced supervisor, it's a little bit circumstantial. If I work at a Harris casino in a poker room there, it's very difficult in a large casino. Like, I was just at Cherokee recently. I've worked at Seminole before. They've got table games, they got slots, their surveillance crew. They hire one team and they're responsible for the whole property. It's very difficult to have table games and poker in the same umbrella when one is house money and one's not, and treat them differently procedurally. And so, because of the challenge of communication between departments and all that type of stuff at a full casino, I probably would still say no. You don't want to allow, you don't want to allow things in there that cover surveillance views at times, or that, um, there are definitely some angles that a poker dealer could use with a piece of paper where they hide cash and they end up pocketing it or something like that. Because of things like that, in a full casino, I'd still probably say no. Like, just think about the risk, right? Like, what's the risk? A poker dealer could, let's say that like I used to play at Foxwoods, and they did not have an impress. Nowadays, a lot of poker rooms they have a specific amount of chips in the well. Let's say it's $2,000 worth of chips exactly to help run the game when people need to buy in or when you need to get white chips and change out red chips so you can have more change to be able to facilitate the game better. When you have an impress, it's a lot easier to say yes to something like a dealer with a notebook or a notepad. A notebook would be too big because it's like there's a whole lot less risk. But if you don't have an impress and you're taking the buy-ins and you're putting the money for the cash down a chute like they used to do at Foxwoods, even at the poker tables, and then you're when you open the bank, you count how much is in there and you put it, you drop the slip, and then when you close the table, you count how much is in there and you drop the slip, and Um, like in that type of a setting where you're taking a rake and all that stuff and you don't have an impress, I think you just completely avoid anything like that. So that being aside, let's say that we're at a card room and I'm an experienced supervisor or shift manager. If a new dealer who still doesn't quite have everything down and can't follow the action well enough asks me, can I have a little like notepad, like let's say post-it notes or something, and a pen, and write stuff down in between hands, or like when there's a moment during a hand? Do I let them? Probably not, because now they're not going to be able to multitask most of the time. They're not going to be able to tell what's going on at the table, and this is going to be adding to something to take away their attention, that hurts the game, that hurts the poker room, that hurts the players, you know. So if I can't trust them, I can't say yes. Now let's say that I have an experienced dealer. If I have a very experienced dealer that's incredibly well liked by everybody and there's zero chance of worrying about that, now I've got a chance to say yes. But also, if I let this one do it, how do I explain to HR that I didn't let the next one do it? So now you're looking at, like, how good is your relationship with HR? How good is your relationship with the rest of the dealers? How, like, there's so many complications that get in the way of saying yes to a simple thing like that. Believe it or not, I'm in favor of saying yes to something like that, but I also haven't asked myself, because I don't want to put the pressure on them to have to say yes to me. I'm a little bit unique in that, I'm not just a regular dealer, I'm a true poker dealer. People know me. I bring business to the room just by choosing to work in that room. They have more pressure to say yes to me. Um, and it's like it's not that serious is how I feel about it. Um, so it's complicated is the answer. Like, how do you explain to HR that you're letting some dealers do this thing and other dealers not do this thing legally? Like, there's just so many little things about running a business and managing people that get very complicated. So most places, they don't want to deal with it and they wouldn't touch it. Um, let's see. Definitely a lot of overlapping contradictions over here for sure. You nailed it. A way deeper answer than I was expecting. Nice. Yeah, I mean, well, I appreciate that you're talking about the Texas gaming question, not the notepad at the table question, I think. Yeah, I mean, thinking about like what's going on in the state of Texas gaming, like, I feel like there's some battles with money going on right now and people's comfort, and yeah. But I appreciate these questions. Like, these are really interesting topics. It's the perfect type of thing to be talking about in a live stream. And if someone's in my remote dealer school and they ask a question like this, I mean, as long as there's time in the class, I'm happy to discuss this stuff. I think that a lot of the time too, like understanding how to answer these questions at the table, because I get asked stuff like this even by people that don't know that I'm true poker dealer at the table, because I'm just a dealer that works in the property, and they're like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen in Texas?" And there, man, is there some finesse skill sets associated with being able to be in that moment and answer those things coherently. Like, one of the most interesting spots to be in as a poker dealer is speaking on anything delicate while multitasking and facilitating and running the game. And like as a dealer, you sort of have to like ask yourself, am I capable of sitting here, facilitating this game, getting the numbers correct, getting the action correct, watching what's happening, um, and answering a question like this at the same time? The multitasking is pretty intense sometimes. And sometimes as a dealer, it's best to just say like, "Oh, there's way too much going on for me to answer that right now, but I love that topic." Or um, it's like you could just make it simple and be like, yeah, I literally don't know. I wonder that myself, or whatever it is. Um, but yeah, these are good questions. I also like the question about the notepad in the at the table. Like, it's tough to allow a dealer to do anything that takes away from them paying attention to the game. Like, that's really the number one thing for me that I think of as challenging for a poker dealer. And I've got remote school starting today and spots in it. Like, we're probably not going to cover many topics like this. Like I'll teach that you can't put your hands below the rail. Like I'll teach why. I'll teach how you're not supposed to go like this. You're supposed to go like this if you have to scratch your face. I'll teach why. Like we talk through a lot of that type of stuff. But there's always more to learn. There's one person that I was the poker director the first time I was a supervisor, a poker supervisor. Well, no, that's not true. Well, the first time I was a full-time poker supervisor, the director always used to say, like, I remember there was one time where this real annoying person came um, into the poker room, and like they said that they've opened casinos, and they were more of a slot guy. Like they came into the poker room, they were from the actual slot casino, and I remember being like, this guy is like what is he doing? He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what's going on in this room. Why is he giving his opinion? Like, what the hell is going on here? I might have said it nicer than that, obviously, but I remember saying that to the director. And I remember the director saying, I'll say this to you, and this is how I view things. I agree that he just sort of came in here and did everything you just described. And, um, it's like, I forget the phrasing that he used, but it was sort of along the lines of like, he created disconnection with us right away by doing that. But this is somebody that works here at the same property. He's new to this property. And I personally, this is what he said. He said, I personally like to look at every single person that comes into a place like this and realize that there's always something to learn from somebody. And, we sort of held on to that, and we even followed up a little bit and asked like what we can learn from him. And I just think that lesson is so valuable. Like, instead of evaluating somebody quickly and seeing that they're not capable right away, like there's just always something to learn from somebody. And um, I like that because that little saying in my head has helped me stay open to people that have come into different jobs and circumstances. Maybe they lack a certain type of professionalism that I consider to be really valuable, but there's always something to learn from somebody is one of the most powerful lessons that I've ever learned. And I butchered the story because it was actually a better story than what I just described, but um I hear a washing machine upstairs that is very noisy. Um, let's see here. So yeah, I like that lesson a lot. It's quite powerful. And yeah. Well, I definitely appreciate you guys being here today, and I'm very excited for remote school to start today. Um, I've taught people how to deal for years. I've supervised. I taught people how to supervise too. I don't know if you guys realize this, but I have trained supervisors for years as well. I did it on the job when I was doing this job, but I like people would get hired, and then I would train them and train them and train them. I I don't know that I did it 100% me, but a high percentage of the training for the current COO of Texas Card House, like I trained him how to supervise. I hired him as a dealer like years ago. I love these journeys, and I'm really excited for remote school, teaching people to deal. And I've never used this format before exactly, and so I get to do some learning too, right? Like anytime you create a new structure for something and then you jump into it, there's learning for me as well. And I'm really excited for that part as well. Like I will be asking this group of students more questions about their specific experiences and journey getting in than I'll be asking people in the future. Very excited for that part too, and excited to get going with this. I I know that the training is going to be excellent. I know that the results going to be excellent. And I'm also excited to tighten up the whole process and just make it better and smoother and faster. And yeah, this is going to be awesome. If you're thinking about doing it, just give it to yourself. I mean, I said it at the beginning of the live stream. If you're thinking about giving this to yourself, what are you waiting for? 2 o'clock today is when we start. All you got to do is sign up. The first day is going to be a great grounding experience to get us on the path. And this is going to feel good to be in this class too. Like giving this to yourself is going to feel good. You're going to enjoy being in this class. You're going to uh I'm getting apology texts from the responsible party with the loud washing machine. It's not that big a deal. Um, Joining this class is going to be, I'm trying to think of a good metaphor for it. Like, I don't know. I feel like when I went to school, high school, college, all that stuff, it's like you go to class and it has a certain feel. Um, the feel is like, ugh, I have to do this in order to get through it. I need to get good grades. I have to take these tests, like all that type of stuff. I mean, assuming that you have any interest in poker at all, you're going to love learning all the details of this job. They feel good to know. Um, it's going to feel good to see your own progress. It's going to feel good to put the work in. It's going to feel good to be corrected. That's one of the major things in this. Like, I'm going to be looking for things to correct in you, and you're going to be looking for things to be corrected in. You want to be corrected in this. This is what remote dealer school is. Like, in my school, everything that you get corrected on is not a problem about you. It's a thing to work on where now you get to watch the recording later and go fix it. And that's the work. Like, what better way to prepare for an audition than to be told exactly what you need to do in order to be prepared for the audition and then just go fix it. And every single thing that you're taught is going to be fixable. That's the beauty of all this stuff. You don't need to be amazing at math to do this job. You got to do math sometimes. As a cashier, you got to do math sometimes, but you don't need to be amazing at math to do this job. You just have to love poker. You just have to want to be working with me. That's another thing too. If you're questioning whether or not it feels good to join remote dealer school with me, the number one question that you should ask yourself is, does it feel good to you to learn from me? If it feels good to you to learn from me, then choosing to take a course where you learn from me is a no-brainer, because you already know, like we all know, having gone to school, what the number one thing we cared about in every single class was, it was, did we like the teacher, right? When you like your teacher, you're going to enjoy the class. It doesn't matter what you're learning. And so if you like the idea of learning from me, come on in. You're going to enjoy this. You could even think of it as paying for remote school is paying for entertainment, where you also happen to get the skill of a job, if you want to look at it that way. I want you to give this to yourself if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence. 2 hours from now, we're going to start the first class. Well, 2 hours and 20 minutes from now, we start the first class. And um, oh, it's funny. I didn't even see that comment when I just said that about math. Man, I love poker, but I'm slow with math. I know pitching already, and I'd simply love to be a dealer, but I don't know what to do or what to think or if it's for me or not. So, well, I mean, I coincidentally, I guess I just answered that. Like, being fast at math is not. So here's what happens. I'll say this to you quickly, and you can sort of trust yourself. And I ask you to lean on this. Do you like the idea of learning from me? If you like the idea of learning from me, you can make it a yes for yourself much more easily. When it comes to math in class, we'll be going over different things. We'll be talking through the different things, and at times you will have to calculate things. But in practice, when you're dealing poker and when you're in class dealing poker, the math that you have to do only happens in the learning phase. When you're actually on the tables, other than the first couple of times you see something, it actually turns into memorization, right? Like, the first time that you do 15 times 7, you might think to yourself, oh God, I hate this. Then you're like, okay, it's 105. But the 10th time that you do 15 times 7, it's memorized 105, just like 2 times 2 equals 4. And that's why you don't need math as much, because the type of math that you have to do is the type that you can train yourself how to do it in a way where you might still not be great at math, but now you have some instincts around what to do that make it a lot easier for you. And I mean, I've taught so many different people. A lot of them are not that good at math. It does not mean you can't do this. Does it give you an advantage if you can do math? I mean, sort of. Another thing that people get a little confused about when there's a poker dealer is, a new poker dealer is going to make mistakes after they get the job when they're on the table. If you go into this feeling like I can't make any mistakes and be a professional poker dealer, like, you don't actually understand how it works, and that's okay. The fact is, when you're new, there's 150 things to learn after you got the job, and you got to train yourself on them one at a time. And you just gain experience, and things get a lot easier over time. Like, you can tell me that you can tell me that you're slow with math, and I'll ask you, well, are you able to pay for things and know how much to pay? Are you able to, like, there's all these things in life that we just get used to that involve math. That's why we learn it in the first place. And you're able to do all that stuff, like you might not do it as fast as the person next to you the first time you have to do it, but I mean, there's so much math in everything, is what I would say, I guess. So yeah, I think that um I think you get what I'm saying though. Like, a lot of this stuff becomes habit, instinct, memorized. There's less math once you're in the swing of it than you think. And if you love poker, it'll keep you more engaged, and you'll want to be able to do it, and you'll want to learn. And for you, all that it probably means is you just have to practice a little bit more in a couple of different areas. And I mean, I've worked with all kinds of people. Like, you can do it. I promise you. If you love poker, in order to love poker, that means that you have to like the bet amounts in the first place, right? Like, if somebody bets 100, you have to enjoy the feeling of seeing the 100. And as someone who loves poker, you must enjoy the fact that it's 100 and not 150. If they bet 150, it feels a certain way. If they bet 100, I mean, these are numbers. You might say that they're math, you might say that they're not math, but this right here is $25 chips, right? $25 chips. You don't calculate 20 times 5 every single time. You just know that this is 100 now, right? We actually break it down in stacks of 5, right? So 5, 5, 5, 5. We know that that's 100. All this stuff just becomes memorized, and you don't actually think of it that way. I had a table games dealer once that was thinking about whether or not they need to know math, or there was someone in a table games class. There was someone that was saying, like, oh, I'm not great at math, like, this is going to be hard for me. And the table games dealer said to them, they could hear the class. It was nearby where the break room was. And they walked over, and they're like, sweetheart, I don't know anything about math. All I have to do in table games is I just take the bet and I just match it. And that's how I pay them. I don't know how much I paid them, but I do know that it's correct, right? It's the same amount of red chips as they bet, and it pays the same. Or it's 2 to 1, right? Now I paid them twice. You don't need to know math to do this job, sweetheart. She said something like that. It was totally true. It's like, I just give them the same number of chips that they have sometimes, right? As a poker dealer, you'll have to be able to count down chip stacks, but I'm probably going on too long about this topic. But I think you get the idea. Like, I would say give it to yourself. I think that if you love poker, that should be enough. I mean, you have to be able to do things with your hands. You have to be able to reach. Even that, like, I've seen dealers that have these little, like, sticks that sort of look like the thing that gets ice off your windshield to collect chips if they have short arms. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of things. I know a dealer that only has a thumb on one hand, and he's totally fine dealing. Um, he doesn't have any of these 4 fingers. It might be his right hand, and he learned how to pitch with just his thumb. Obviously, he couldn't use my method to pitch, but there's still a way to do it, right? Like, there's lots of things about this job where there's just a way to get in there. So if you're thinking about it, I mean, that's all I have to say. If you're thinking about it, give it to yourself. Um, yeah. Let's see, what time is it? So it's 11:45. I start the remote school at 2 p.m. Eastern today, and let's see. What I'll say is, right now, if anyone else has anything that they want to chat about, you can put it in the chat in the next few minutes. And if not, I'm probably going to wrap this up. I've been on for almost an hour. And as you guys know, I got a class to run today. I don't know when I'll be back on live. I might continue doing live streams regularly. I've actually really enjoyed doing this. It's been a long time since I did regular live streams. Maybe 5 years ago, I used to do every Tuesday, and then my schedule made that pretty challenging. But uh, I, I've really enjoyed being on here regularly. It's sort of a learning process for me, figuring out, like, how to talk to a camera alone some of the time. But I mean, this is just practice for life, right? Like, technology is always changing, everything's always changing and growing. And um, so, yeah, any other comments or questions in the chat? And I mean, if you just want to say hi, just so I know that you're there, right? I don't know who's watching. It doesn't show me a list of the people that are in there right now. It just says that there's a number of people watching, and that's what I see at any given moment. Um, but yeah, here, let me do this. Just in case you didn't see it, I said, give yourself the life change you deserve, remote dealer school. That's how I feel about it. I was like, do I want to put this up there? And I said, yeah, this is what I want to write. Give yourself the life change you deserve. Like, it's literally that simple. If you want to learn how to deal poker and you want to end up with this job, join the school. It's today. We're going to have a great time. It's 6 weeks long, and then I have 2 bonus weeks at the end for anybody that just wants a little bit extra time. We cover everything about dealing poker and some more. I teach you, like, there's just so much to it. And you have access to the self-paced course, and sometimes I'll tell you, go watch this lesson, go watch that lesson, and it's just like it's all context. And believe it or not, I'll actually be watching the lessons with you, meaning in my own time whenever I assign one. Like, I want to be incredibly familiar with exactly what you're watching. I know I made all these lessons, but there's just so much to this. I'm going to be teaching a lot of stuff live from the school, and I'm excited to get to it. And yeah, I appreciate everybody that's in the lives, and I appreciate everybody that's going to be in the remote school. And I don't see any more comments right now, so I'm going to probably end this and say thank you all for being here as always. And hopefully I see you in remote school, but I can also see you in these lives in the future. But I will say this, after weeks of live streaming where I'm just doing these live streams talking to all you guys, I'm definitely looking forward to more of the face to face, Face to face is definitely my favorite, where we talk through Zoom, and I get to know you guys. Like, I've gotten to know so many different people on video sessions where I do one-on-ones with people, and this is just a sophisticated version of that where I teach people from scratch, basically, if that's where they're at. So thank you all for being here. Appreciate you guys. And I'm going to say goodbye for now, and hopefully I see you in class later today. And if not,